In this problem, we need to convert units that are squared, which builds a bit complexity. So I'm going to start as usual by building myself a roadmap to kind of keep track of where I need to go and which units I'm trying to convert. So it's saying that we need to convert 250 centimeters over seconds squared to miles over hours squared. And it is giving us the conversion between miles and kilometers, which means we likely need to convert to kilometers first. So we know that we're trying to end in miles, and I'm going to keep the unit for time and the unit for length here separately. We need to end in miles, and we have the conversion between kilometers and miles, which means it's likely that we need to take centimeters into kilometers. Now, if you don't remember how many centimeters there are in a kilometer, that's okay, because we can stop at meters in between. So we could convert centimeters to meters and then convert meters to kilometers. That will take care of the length. The next thing we need to consider is the time. So we're starting with seconds squared and we want to end with hours squared. Well, if you don't remember how many seconds there are in an hour, that's also okay because we can convert to minutes first and then convert minutes to hours. Now we do need to square all of these units, but what I'm actually going to do is I will convert them without squaring and then square at the very end. So you'll see that the process is pretty much the same. The only difference is that we need to square the number and the unit during our conversion. Okay, so I'm going to start with the 250 centimeters per second squared. And you could work either with the time unit or with the length unit. It doesn't matter where you start, but I recommend keeping each one separate. So you could either do length first and then do time or vice versa, but don't mix and match because it can get very confusing and very easy to lose track of things. So I prefer to deal with length first, so I'll start there. There are centimeters in the numerator, which means we need to put centimeters in the denominator in order for those to cancel. Well, now we need to think about our centimeter to meter conversion. And if you recall, centi means 10 to the negative 2, which means there are 10 to the negative 2 meters in 1 centimeter. Alternatively, you could write it as 0.01 meters in 1 centimeter. Now, I don't particularly like dealing with negative exponents, so I usually flip this around and I say, okay, well, if this is 10 to the negative 2 meters, then that suggests that centimeters are the smaller unit. So I could turn this around and say there are 10 to the 2 centimeters in 1 meter, or there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter. Centi means 100. So I prefer this option. I'm going to continue with that. If you prefer this option, that's totally fine. It will lead you to the same answer. Okay, we need to put centimeters in the denominator. So there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter. And now that we have centimeters in the numerator and denominator, they cancel out. And now we have meters. So the next thing I need to do is get rid of the meters. I'm going to convert meters into kilometers. And since there are meters in the numerator, I need to put meters in the denominator. Well, kilo means 10 to the 3, or 1,000. And there are 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. So I will put 1,000 meters in the denominator and 1 kilometer in the numerator. And now that they are across from each other, they cancel out. Now that we're in kilometers, we can finally use this conversion that is provided in the problem. And since kilometers are in the numerator here, they need to be in the denominator to cancel. So I will put 1.609 kilometers in 1 mile. And now the kilometers are diagonal and they cancel. So finally, we've reached one of the units that we want. We want to end with miles up top, and it looks like this is good to go. So I'll deal with the seconds next. Okay. I want to convert seconds into minutes, and we know that there are 60 seconds in 1 minute. And since here seconds are in the denominator, here they need to be in the numerator in order to cancel out. So I will put 60 seconds up top and then 1 minute in the denominator. Now I'm not going to square yet. I'll deal with that at the end. So eventually those seconds will cancel. Okay, now that I have minutes in the denominator, I need to get rid of that, which means minutes will need to go in the numerator. And we know that there are also 60 minutes in 1 hour. So 60 minutes will go up top and then 1 hour in the denominator. Okay, now I need to square stuff because we have seconds squared. And what I'm going to do is square this entire value over here. So both the 60 and the second. And when you do that, what that really means is that you're squaring both the number and the unit. And that's going to give you 3,600 seconds squared. So you could either rewrite it as 3,600, or you could just leave it the way that it is and plug it in like that. I have to do the same thing to the minutes, and then I'll do the same thing on the bottom. But in this case, we're squaring 1, which is just 1. So alternatively, you could just get rid of that and square the unit itself, because 1 squared is just 1. And I lost track of my colors here now. Okay, minute was purple. There we go. Okay, now that everything is squared appropriately, the seconds squared cancel out, the minutes squared cancel out, and we are left with miles over hours squared, which is exactly what we're trying to find. Now that all of our units are where they need to be, we just need to plug this in. So everything up top will get multiplied. And here you want to make sure that you are squaring each number. So it'll be 250 times 60 squared times 60 squared. And if you want to be extra careful, you can put this in parentheses in your calculator to make sure that it gets squared first before it continues. You do not want to multiply everything and then square that entire value. And then we're going to divide by 100 times 1,000 times 1.609. If you're extra worried about it, you could turn the 60 squared into 3,600 and plug in 250 times 3,600 times another 3,600, and then divide by that entire denominator that we have over here. Okay, so I will plug this in. Okay, and I'm getting 20,136 miles over hours squared, which is a pretty huge value. We could turn this into scientific notation to make it a little more manageable. So that would be 2.0 times 10 to the 4 miles over hours squared.